But tonight, here is the one thing. The one thing is, we all want to succeed. We all want our country to be strong again. But are we doing the right things to get us there? I'm going to walk over to our big screen here in a second, but first, I want you to listen to something that I don't know how any American can disagree with. I mean, it really is good. It's President Obama talking about fixing all of the problems caused by the housing crisis. But I want you to listen carefully and ask yourself this question: does this sound reasonable? Watch.
Now, even if your neighbor hasn't been hit by foreclosures, you're likely feeling the effects of this crisis in other ways. Companies in your community that depend on the housing market, construction companies and home furnishing stores and painters and landscapers, they're all cutting back and laying people off. The number of residential construction jobs has fallen by more than 250,000 since mid-2006. But if we act boldly and swiftly to arrest this downward spiral, then every American will benefit.
Okay, there's the idea. We want to arrest this downward spiral. Oh, would that be true? Wouldn't it be great? Can it be done? Has it ever been done before? If we can arrest this downward spiral, then we all won't suffer, because we really are. Remember, he said if somebody's home goes down in value, we all suffer. Okay, I got that. Let me show you this. This is the history of home values. This is 1890. Here's 2010. Thousands of dollars. This is a pretty critical line. This is adjusted for inflation. This is $100,000 at this end, all the way across. Now, here we go. Let's start in 1890 and look at the price of homes. Here we have World War I. This is when the Fed is first introduced in Congress. They reject it, and it starts to fall apart. The Fed says, no, really, we can stop it, and so we put it up here, the Fed, and then it falls apart again. Does the Fed actually do any good? Does it stop any kinds of depression? Here's the slide from 1929. This is the bottom of the Great Depression right here in 1930. This is about the time when FDR is starting to come up. FDR is elected. Then he starts playing with socialism. Here's the socialism point here. Then we go to the next place, which is the beginning of World War II. This is 1949. What happened to this slide? 1941. What happened here? Right here in 1936, the Supreme Court rules in favor of one of the New Deal programs which FDR had, which was giving great control to the unions in businesses all across the country. The Supreme Court says, yes, it's constitutional. It destroys business and drives us into a second Great Depression. What gets us out of that Great Depression is 1941. And World War II. But as you see, it doesn't really come back up. Here we slide at the end of World War II. We come back down. We're changing our economy. And then it comes back up to where the market wants it to be, right around this line at $100,000 for your house in adjusted money. You'll see that we also have our peaks. Here's the 1970s boom where everybody's buying houses. This is what we paid for when it comes back down into the 1980s. But notice this line. Where are the peaks and valleys? Because now I'm going to show you the 80s boom, the 90s boom, and then we're going to go to where we are today. Here it is. Next boom, all the way up to the 2006 peak. This is where we have been, all the way up here. Now we're starting to fall down when the president says to us, we've got to stop this downward spiral. It's right here. This is the point to where Barney Frank has said we're going to stop the downward spiral, and we're going to give people money who haven't been paying their mortgage. At this point, for the people who are paying their mortgage, at this point, people who are paying taxes, every month when you write a check out to the federal or to your mortgage company and you're paying it, you might as well write a second check for the deadbeat down the street or the person who lost his job or whatever it is. You write another check for $100 for all of the people who aren't paying their mortgage every single month. At this point, we want to stop the downward spiral, says the president. Is it for the first time in recorded history are home prices going to now be up here? As you see the market, if I could draw the lines here across, the market always wants your house price to be about here. There are the peaks which have never been this size, just like the Great Depression has not been repeated. They're saying now that we could go into a Great Depression. I ask you, you're writing a check for $100 every month for people who haven't paid their mortgages from here to here. What kind of check do we each have to write from here to here? And God help us all if we happen to go down to a Great Depression. How much money is the United States government going to be on the hook for? And how much money are we going to take out of our children's checks to get all the way down here? I asked you at the beginning to listen to this audio and ask yourself, does this sound reasonable? I want you to listen to it one more time and ask yourself the same question now with this information. Does this sound reasonable?
Now, even if your neighbor hasn't been hit by foreclosures, you're likely feeling the effects of this crisis in other ways. Companies in your community that depend on the housing market, construction companies and home furnishing stores and painters and landscapers, they're all cutting back and laying people off. The number of residential construction jobs has fallen by more than 250,000 since mid-2006. But if we act boldly and swiftly to arrest this downward spiral, then every American will benefit.